Welcome back for another episode of Seeking Discovery. I hope you are well. Things at the bus have been going a little bit slow the past couple of days because I really haven't been out here, but today I finally got the insulation for the subfloor. A couple of days ago when my parents were here helping, Caleb and I ran to Lowe's and Home Depot and we could not find 1.5 inch insulating board for the subfloor. And we wanted 1.5 inch because I'll be using 2x4s ripped down the center and 2x3s to frame out the subfloor. So that's actually 1.5 inch, which is why we want 1.5 inch foam to fit in there, and then it'll be capped with 1/2 inch plywood. So today I found a place in Orlando that distributes insulation, ran out there, and I was able to buy sheets directly from them and completely just skip the big box store. So I'm excited that we've got the insulation. It's time to get in the bus, get stuff organized, start ripping the lumber down, and hopefully start putting the subfloor together. So now that we have the 2x4s ripped down to approximately 1.5 by 1 3/4, it's time to start framing out the subfloor. So here in the back of the bus, the first pieces going down are the very outsides. And then with the AC lines coming in through here, I'm going to create a little box around it and then do another piece across the back. And that'll be kind of our first pieces connected. My plan is to use pocket screws to be able to screw in from the top and do a friction fit floating floor. And then there'll be a grid pattern on the entire bus, and we will stick the insulation in between the grid and then cap it with the plywood sheets. It's another day here in Central Florida. I didn't get as much done yesterday as I had hoped because I got called in to help out at work. So that happens. Sometimes you don't get as much done as you want. But as you can see behind me, we've got the insulation finally for the subfloor. So today's goal is to get the framing ready, potentially start cutting some of that foam down, and who knows, maybe even get some of the plywood capped down as well. So I'm really excited that the subfloor is going in, and I'm excited to take you guys with me as we get going to convert this school bus into a tiny house. Well, I made a mistake while laying the framing for the subfloor, which means I now get to go back and take out some of the flooring or the framing that I put in and fix it. So basically what I did is I was trying to lay the 2x3s 48 inches on center for where the 4x8 sheets will meet so that there's extra wood there to screw both sides in. And I got the first one in place where I wanted it, got it 48 inches from on center from the back of the bus. And then the next one I laid down, I measured from the front face of that board, put a line 48 inches out, and then got it all ready. And I realized when I put it in, I put it on the back face of the 2x3 instead of the front face. So it's 2.5 inches farther than it should be. And then I did that another time, so it compounded. So now I'm multiple inches off, and with my 4x8 sheets, they won't fit properly. Luckily, I haven't put any insulation in other than the very back one, so I can easily unscrew them and move them and keep going. So that's what I'm going to do now. Unfortunately, I already moved everything into the back of the bus so that I could keep working in the front. So now I get to try to work around all of this to get it fixed and get everything back in line. Well, I'm wrapping things up here today at the bus build. It looks like some rain is heading in, so I'm going to use these last couple of minutes to clean up really quick and get everything closed up and weatherproof, so if it is any strong storms or stuff, we're good to go. But we got a good chunk of the subfloor framing done. Hopefully I'll be able to get back out here in the next day or two and get the rest of the subfloor finished up and get that plywood on, which is the first big step in reconstruction and building out the tiny house. So we'll be back out here in the next day or two to keep working on the subfloor. Good morning, everybody. It is another beautiful day here in sunny Florida. It's a high of like 72 or 73. Blue skies, white clouds. It is a perfect day to be out here building on the bus. So I'm really excited to get a start on finishing the subfloor today. And as you can see, I got all my wood here ready to go. And I kind of cleaned up the back of the bus so I can keep moving on with that. So again, the goal today is to get the rest of these boards cut to length, installed for the floating framing, then add all the insulation, get that all taped up to kind of do like a vapor barrier, seal it all out, and then hopefully yet today still get the plywood down so that the subfloor will be finished by the end of the day. So let's see how quickly I can get this done. Well, I got an update for you guys. So I just got done with the basic framing on the floor. You can kind of see it here behind me. What I decided to do was run it in kind of thirds. And initially I did that for the water tank that'll be under the bed to help distribute the weight. And then I decided just to continue it through the entire bus. Yes, I realize this will be a little bit of thermal bridging with the extra lumber, but what I'm hoping for is extra rigidity in the floor so that when the cabinets are on the couch, all of that kind of anchoring everything down, it'll be a nice sturdy structure. There won't be any creaking or anything like that. So that's where I am right now. Next step is to start cutting the foam and inserting the foam into the cavities. So that's what we're gonna do next. Well guys, I have another update for you. The foam, as you can see behind me, is officially down, which means it's time to get all those seams taped up, and then we can put the plywood on top to cap off the subfloor. In the time lapse, you can see me going through, cutting all of the foam, and placing it in. The easiest way that I found to cut it was to score it with a box cutter, and then if it was a longer one, to kind of break it over my knee, and that gave it a relatively clean cut. And after doing that a couple of times, I got the hang of it, and it really went much faster. So I'm really excited that the subfloor is getting close to being finished. The only area that I haven't done yet is up by where you enter the bus, and that is because that'll take a little bit more detail. But if I can get the majority of the back of the bus all sheeted up, then I can keep moving forward with the rest of the build. It's another new day here in Central Florida, and I'm excited to be back out at the bus build. Hopefully today will be the day where the subfloor is officially finished. So yesterday I was out here getting all the framing in, the insulation in, and started taping. I ended up running out of the reflective insulation tape, so I picked some more up this morning, and now I'm out here finishing the taping, and then I'll get ready to start laying the plywood. So for my subfloor, I chose to do a floating subfloor, and what that means is the framing of my subfloor isn't actually attached to the bus in any way. So it's all friction fit, and I used hammers to kind of pound them in, and then pocket screws to attach all the pieces together. And by having that built into the kind of parameters of the bus, it's become really rigid and really sturdy, even without the plywood on top. So once that plywood is put in, that'll really anchor it all together, and it'll be a great building foundation for the bus, as well as it prevents me from having to drill any new holes into the frame with self-tapping screws or anything like that. After spending so much time to get it all ready, I didn't want to put new holes in the floor. So that's why I chose to do a floating subfloor, and like I said, hopefully today will be the day we'll get that all wrapped up and finished. Okay, first off, sorry the lighting is terrible back here. There's just no shade at the back of the bus right now. But I've got my first piece of plywood here at the back of the bus, and I want to get this one squared in where I want it. because each next piece will be based off of this one. So where the door is, there's the frame here on both sides that I want to put a notch in it so it can seat in there fully, as well as there's lines for the AC in this corner back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these oscillating multi-tools with just a saw bit on it, and I'm going to cut out my little markings I have here so that that piece of plywood can sit in fully. I don't know if you can see it here, but I just took a like 2x4 scrap, stuck it under the plywood to get it up off of my framing and of my foam, because ultimately I don't want to cut into that. So I'm going to go ahead, put my safety glasses on, hearing protection in, and get this trimmed up, and hopefully first try it'll slide right in. The other place I forgot to mention is in the far corner. That needs to be rounded over because the corner of the bus is rounded. So I'm going to hit those couple of spots, and hopefully we'll get this first piece of plywood down and can move all the stuff that's in the bus out of the way to the back, and then I can finish taping the rest of the bus and getting the rest of the plywood in. And there we go. Just like that, we got our little notches cut out. This first piece is ready to be screwed in, and now we have a nice spot to anchor everything else off in the build. Just a quick update for you guys. We've got all of the foil down and taped to kind of create our barrier. The only spot that doesn't have it is right here, which is our diesel tank access area, so that won't be fully attached, but that's by design. As you can see in the back, we've got some plywood already down, so now the goal is to get the rest of the sheets in, all spaced out, and then go back and screw them all down. Okay guys, we got the first piece of plywood in. It's time to get this next one in, so I wanted to show you this little hack that I figured out. My Makita saw came with this little fence, and with the plywood sheets being 4x8 and the inside of the bus being about 6.5, I figured out that that fence is big enough to run along the edge of the plywood and get these exactly the size that I need to lay them for the subfloor, which means I don't have to keep measuring every single one of these. I don't have to put a straight edge on it. All I got to do is match that fence up with the edge of the board and run the saw across. So here we go, as easy as this. And there we go, we got this piece cut to the length we need to drop it right in the bus. It's always a game of musical chairs when you're storing stuff in the bus. So what I did is, as you can see, there's a stack of plywood here, so I ripped them all down to size with the circular saw with the guard on, or the guide on it. I just moved the pressure washer over top of the one that's already there. And these ones, the hardest part with getting these in is the chair rails. So as you can see, the chair rails stick out a bit, so you can't just flop them in nicely. But back here where the wheelchair lift door was, there is no chair rail. So the easiest thing I found to do was to put them in there and slide them forward. So I have a stack of them here. I believe there's 4 of them ready to go. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. When I fill those out, it should get me all the way to this point. And then the next one will need to be notched out for the AC lines. And then a hole will have to be cut for the gas or the diesel tank access point. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to slide those 4 out, see how it looks, and I'm getting really excited that the subfloor is almost ready to be anchored down. Well guys, exciting progress. We've got most of the subfloor laid. It is not yet screwed in, but as you can see, the only spot left is right up here in the entryway, but the rest is all down. A lot less stuff to move around every day, which I'm really looking forward to. So yeah, this is really exciting. Well guys, the weather can't decide what it's doing here in Central Florida, so I think I'm gonna call it a day down here. The rain's been kind of moving in and out, which makes it hard to do anything outside of the bus, so I had to move everything inside, and now it's just kind of messy in there. But another milestone point. We've got, I would say, 90% of the subfloor is laid. Still needs to be screwed in, but the fact that it's in there is really exciting to see the space kind of starting to transform, which again is a big, exciting point. So thank you guys for following along on the build. I really appreciate it. If you guys have questions, leave them down in the comments below. I love answering your questions. And if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button so that you can see when more build videos come out, and leave a big thumbs up on this video so that I know you guys like the content I'm creating. If you haven't done so already, be sure to check out some of my other social media channels for the most up-to-date content. You can find all of that at seekingdiscovery.com/links. I also have a Patreon page, so if you're looking to support the build, get behind-the-scenes content, and early access to YouTube videos and other sneak peeks, head over to my Patreon, and I would love the support there. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching, and I look forward to sharing the rest of the build with you.